All right, let's talk about this weird thing that happens when you're playing, say, a Stratocaster, and you're like you've been playing a Stratocaster maybe all day or for a few days in a row, or even playing all week, and then you decide that you're going to pick up your Les Paul, and when you're playing your Strat, like your picking is like pretty good. You're missing. You're missing. You're hitting all the notes you want properly. Your pocket is good. Everything seems to be okay. Hands seem to be pretty relaxed. Then you pick up a Les Paul, and all of a sudden it's like, I forgot how to pick. And this is a common problem, mainly because of when it comes. We're not talking about this hand. We're talking about the picking hand. If you're left-handed, then we are talking about the left hand. But we're talking about the picking. Can be a common problem because the bridge design on these guitars is so wildly different. And what it does is it forcefully repositions your hand. When you do that, you'd be surprised. Just that couple millimeters one way or another is enough to throw you off and make you feel like, kind of like, it's not that you can't pick on that other guitar, but like you might need to play a little while to kind of like find exactly where it needs to be, kind of warm up to that guitar. Then you're okay. Then you might have trouble going back to the other guitar. But let me explain why. I have those. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of guitars here with 4 different types of bridges, and I'm going to try to take you through what they actually do to your hand. None of these are bad. None of these are better than the others. It's what you like. And if you play a Strat exclusively, this is probably not going to be the kind of thing, or Tele exclusively, this probably isn't going to pertain to you. But if you have different guitars and you like to play different guitars, which most of us do, this is something I want to kind of take you through and explain. First of all, we mentioned the Stratocaster. This is one of the most common. You'll see the bridge on this guitar right here. It's got the 6 individual saddles. It sits very low to the guitar, okay? And this creates a feeling when you pick of, for lack of a better word, a kind of intimacy with the strings. And for me, that is ideal. I like to have that kind of thing. Also, in terms of palm muting, you can kind of feel your way around. It's like how much you want to mute and how much you don't want to mute. Muting is super important, whether you're actually doing the type palm muting or you're just resting your hand on the bridge. The reason why that is because you're using the right hand not to just rest the hand as you pick. Most players do rest the hand when they're picked, by the way. Not everybody, but most do. I just did a series on TikTok, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Pickers. And one of the habits that I saw that so many awesome pickers do is they do rest the hand. We'll talk about that in a separate video. But by resting the hand, you also have control over the strings. And you can keep strings that you don't want ringing from ringing, or cut them off in a musical way as you move this way or this way on the guitar. So you can see that this has it's going to be certain kind of advantageous to that, or at least you have to I think that it's easier to warm up to this type of bridge in the beginning. Another bridge that is very similar to this bridge is the bridge on the Paul Reed Smith McCarty here, okay? And if you notice this is a very simple bridge like that one. There's no additional tailpiece or anything like that. And again, it gives the profile of being very close to the guitar. It sits up a little higher, but because this part of it is so low profile here, you don't have this thing where your hand is way out of the way. It does feel slightly different. For the record, and I've said this in previous videos, this is my favorite bridge. facilitates resting the hand very nicely. I think in some ways it's smoother because the strings are recessed into it, and as you glide along, it just feels very, very smooth. Whereas the Stratocaster, you will feel the saddles as you go. That's not cutting up your hand or anything like that, but you do notice it. It can be, I don't know, a distraction. But again, if you're used to it, that doesn't make that big of a difference. But switching between this guitar and a Stratocaster isn't going to be worlds apart. Now let's talk about a guitar where you could run into a situation where it does feel different, and this does for me. This is one of my absolute favorite guitars. But if I've been playing my PRS or my Strat for a while, or my other, if you notice, I have two other guitars back here. This other PRS has the Strat style. It's the PRS bridge, but it's very similar to the Strat. And that Telecaster back there definitely has the hardtail version of the Strat bridge on it. So bebopping around those two, they're very similar. But this guitar right here, I want to take a look at this. This is a completely different animal. The bridge, is there even a bridge, right? This whole thing is just like a plate that the pickup and the string saddles rest in. This just forces your hand up higher. There's no way around it. It just forces your hand, puts your hand at a slightly different angle, and it can take a few minutes to get adjusted to. The other thing is, if you do have low profile picking, which I do, I sort of play kind of like my hand kind of like that. You can find yourself whacking the pick off of this I don't know, tailpiece, pickup holder, string saddle holder, whatever you want to call it. That can become cumbersome. It's not like the end of the world, and obviously there's tons of country pickers going back 70 years who pick the hell out of these damn things. It's just a matter of getting used to it. And if you're used to playing one of those other two guitars and you pick up a Telecaster like this, a traditional Tele, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. I played a Strat style bridges for most of my career, and when I went to this thing, it almost felt like I was learning to play all over again. I have fallen in love with this guitar. As you can see, it is very well worn. It's one of my absolute favorite guitars. Very grateful that that this guitar has been with me on so many gigs. A lot of great memories. And it's a really just cool sounding guitar. But this is like, you gotta get used to it. And if I've spent a lot of time with one of these other pieces here, and then I know I'm going to do a gig where I'm going to be playing this a lot, I gotta sit down with this and work with this guitar to get comfortable with it. Doesn't make it a bad guitar, doesn't make it any kind of a problem. It's just something you have to do, and if you love playing, you're willing to do it. So, last one. You may have seen this back here. Of course, the Gibson Les Paul. This is, full disclosure, this is not an actual Gibson. It's a replica. This is a completely different thing. This guitar, when I play this guitar here, when I play Les Pauls, I have 3 of them. It just feels completely different. I don't know how to explain it. The hand just feels like it's in a completely different position. I actually have a gold top with P90s in it, and for some reason, I don't know if the top is curved more or something, but it does not have the same kind of feel. It feels like the hand, I have to take some time to really kind of figure out where I'm going to put the hand in it. It feels like I want to angle the hand a little bit more this way. I'm exaggerating because I'm holding the guitar up by my chin like I'm choking myself for the video, but you will notice that. So if you are used to playing one of these other things and you pick one of these bad boys up and you go like, well, what the hell, man? I don't feel like I can even play. There's nothing wrong with your playing. It's just a matter of acclimating to it. But you will have to play around with how you position the hand. With how you position the hand while you're playing. Now, this brings me to my final point on this whole thing. When it comes to anything, picking or fingering the guitar, singing is a big thing too. I'm a vocal coach as well. Is you have to find your own way through these things. a lot of people feel like they watch a video on how to pick or how to, hold the guitar, press the strings down or whatever, and they feel like they got it. You have to play around with how everybody's hands are a little bit different. Everybody's fingers are a little bit different length. You have a little slightly different hand spacing. All of that tiny little crap goes into what is going to end up being ultimately your technique. And when you start switching guitars around a whole bunch, you have to kind of get used to doing that. Studio guys that are playing a lot and they're switching guitars a lot, they probably, more than likely, they have just found their way to the point where they don't even think about it. Those of us that are not playing full time, or not playing guitar 6 hours a day, playing around, bouncing around with different guitars, we may find that it takes us a little bit of time to get used to. Those videos that just explain to you why that might be and to not make a big deal out of it. If you are gigging a lot, or say you're gigging for long periods of time, not necessarily a lot, but my advice to you is to try to stick with one guitar on that gig if you can. Unless there's if you do alternate tunings or you really have to have a certain guitar for a certain thing, try to stick to the one guitar, especially when it comes to how the bridge is set up, and especially if you are more of a picker and not as much with the legato or either way. Try to stick with the one guitar throughout the gig if you can. That's probably the best way to mitigate this. I'm not telling you not to do that. If you're playing 5 nights a week, you're gonna acclimate to that quickly, and it's gonna be less of an issue. But for those of us weekend warrior types that playing in cover bands and things like that, you're playing 4 times a month or 3 times a month or something like that. Stick to that one guitar. You're in terms of your playing and everything, you're going to have a better experience. All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. LouLombardiMusic at gmail.com. Website coming soon for lessons. Put lessons in the title of the email. And I always do the first one-on-one coaching session as a courtesy to see if we are a good fit for each other. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll catch you next video.